Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan. With me tonight, I'm stuck with two of the two greatest tragics we've got around here. So it's Glenn and Roscoe. Glenn, mate, how was your week?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, mate. It was a bit of up and down. I had a few good pods go off in Miller and Nat Butcher, so that was pretty handy. But I also had Dewey. I played Katoa over Dewey because I was worried about Dewey, and then I left Alamotti on the bench so that I had backup for Dewey. And then I remember saying in the chat, I really feel my gut says play Alamotti over Dewey. Didn't trust my gut, but I still ended up with 1,071 and got a green arrow, so can't complain, I guess. And won most of my head-to-heads.
Awesome. And Roscoe, mate, how'd you go this week?
Next question. I'm just asking this question for a friend. Can we start again? No, it's pretty average. 2004, I think it was. Yeah, as I said earlier before we come on the record, don't mix alcohol and trading or captaincy because it doesn't work. Because it cost me probably about 70 or 80 points by not putting the captaincy on Grant. Ended up looping Turbo. Had to take out Preston, which cost me about 70 points. So. Yeah, unfortunately, it's time. I'm going backwards, but it's time to start getting that side ready. Use another boost this week, or should I say my first one, and hopefully start moving up the ladder rather than down.
Yeah, no, fair enough. As a guy that loves a drink, mate, and loves Supercoach, I know whenever I know I'm drinking, I'm putting the safe captain every single week. So I always do it before I start drinking. It's my first little point of call. I myself, pretty average round, actually quite average. So right in the middle, actually. I got a 1083. Once again, picking the right captain and playing the wrong bench as per usual. I ended up being pretty flat. I think I lost about 100, couple hundred spots there, which isn't too bad. It's around 10K mark still, which isn't the worst thing. Pretty decent situation to be in this time of year. Yeah. So tonight, as per usual, we're going to go through the trade trends and then move on to the week's game. So we'll start with you, Glenn. Trade in number one this week, and that's Walsh, 554K with a negative 32 break even. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, well, I'm doing it. I don't rate him as high as everyone else does, but I do rate the fact that he's going to make cash. I like the draw. I think it's a nice play and a move towards others that we're looking at later down the line. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm bringing him in too, just because I've got a player that's not going to play this week, so I might have to try to get some points elsewhere and make some money while I can as well. So, Roscoe, your thoughts here, mate?
Oh, sorry.
Go, Glenn, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say 17 of my 25 are in the negative break even, and that's always pretty to look at.
Yeah. I was looking at doing Teddy to Walsh. And then I had a bit of a look around. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't mind it as a cash grab, but like a 2 to 3 week cash grab, or maybe a bit longer because they do still have a heap of games at home or in Queensland before they leave. So I don't mind it if you want to build up to a Latrell or something like that. But for me, I'm actually going to go to Carraz instead via Hammer. I just feel like I need to probably go there instead. But I don't hate the Walsh trade. My concern is he was on -2 at half time, and he was only on about 40 points, until he got those 2 tries. So his base is not great at all. That's the only concern for me. And that's why I went to Kraz. Bit more expensive, but as we saw, 20 odd to hit ups on the weekend, 62 points just in pretty much in hit ups alone. So those attacking stats will come, and I think there's going to be more points out of him.
Yeah, no, I do like Walsh trade. Walsh is only going to be a trade I make if I need to loop. Because if I need to loop, then I won't trade it because I'll have Teddy as my little backup there. But yeah, it's my boost if I need to loop. If I'm not going to loop, I might bring him in just to get some extra cash. All right. Roscoe, number 2 most traded in this week, 241,000 with a -9 break even, which doesn't really matter because he's only got played the one game. That's Josh Schuster.
Yeah, look, I'm bringing him in this week. I don't think it's a must do trade this week. We saw on the weekend he got 59 points with 3 try assists and a try contribution. And I think that he's going to get a lot more try contributions than what he's going to get try assists because there's going to be a lot of passes from him to Turbo, and Turbo will get those, sweeping play try assists. So I don't hate it, but it all depends on who you're trading out. I mean, I'm going Brimson out because Brimson hasn't been scoring well, and they've got a bye next week. It also gives me the cash to go Katoa to Hines next week. If I do pull the trigger next week with their bye coming up, but I don't hate the trade, but I don't think it's one of those trade. I don't think it's a priority trade this week.
Yeah, no, I agree, Glenn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Really, is the fact that he does find an injury and has a few lingering injuries. So he's playing South, so probably doesn't get a big score. So if you don't need to get him this week, you can wait to next. If like me, you're trading down someone for the coin to get to someone else, then do it.
Yeah, I think especially with the end of the game last week, he was already rubbing that calf, and you never know what happens next week as well. So this is the prime example of if he's not going to change in cash this week, there's no rush to get him in.
The one upside to Schuster I will add is that they played left predominantly last week, and that Garrick, Schuster, Turbo are all left side dominant. So I mean, it sort of steers me away from DCE a little bit, but I still think that he will get a lot of try assists to Turbo or even to Garrick.
I'll just add on to that. I'll just add on that quickly. Sorry, too. That trade in, trade out, most popular trades. Number 2 makes no sense, which is Tedesco to Schuster. I'm not. There's like 1,500 people. You shouldn't be going Teddy to Schuster. That's just really makes no sense to me. Not the right trade.
I think we're gonna figure the reason for that, and after we talk when we get to number 4 on this trading list. So I think we're going to figure the reason why people are doing that, which I still don't agree with. I think you're right there, Roxco. But like, I think one thing I like looking at my stats, but one thing I like to look at more is the eye test. And Schuster, besides that little injury, the eye test was amazing. Him partnering up with Turbo, that was a really good looking. I'm looking forward to seeing them mesh a bit more. I reckon they're going to be a good combo, and Manly are going to be a force to reckon with. They team up really well.
Absolutely.
Number 3 on the trade-in list, 693k with a break even at 53, and that's Payne Haas. Glenn, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm imagining people with Cotter are probably going to Haas because Cotter's out. At the moment for me, the objective's money. So, I mean, but having said that, 2 coins, 1 cash, 1 points isn't a bad strat. So,
yeah. Thoughts there, Roscoe?
Yeah, look, I think he's pretty much close to a must-have, as I like to say sometimes. I haven't said it for a while, okay? Yeah, look, 1,500 are going from Cotter to Haas makes sense to me. Would you go Christian Walsh to Haas, though? That's the question. I still think Walsh has got cash to make, but what do you think about that trade?
Yeah,
I don't mind it. I think it's an upgrade, but is it like a week too soon, or that's what I'm thinking? Because I know there's a 28 and Welsh is rolling average, so that might be a bit of a challenge. But I think that's just it. That game was an outlier. He's playing against Tigers next week, so
not only that, it's the heat. A lot of the forwards are playing less minutes at the moment because of the heat. And if you look at Haas, so did Haas. The only difference was that in the last 10 minutes of that game, Haas had 2 line breaks, 2 try assists, and 2 try contributions, or whatever it was. He put on a stack of points in a very short time. So if you actually take the sample size and take that 10 minutes out, it was actually quite ugly for Haas.
Yeah,
I think he played 32 minutes last week. They're playing in Melbourne this week. I think he'll go back to about 55, 60 minutes this week, and I think you could hold him. But look, I don't hate the trade going to Haas, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I like because if you know he's playing fit and he's got no shoulder injuries or no niggling injuries, he is the guy you can keep in your team for the whole year and just know that he's going to do what he needs to do.
Yeah,
so I think that's a staple. Just put him in your team and leave him there. Number 4, and this is the reason why people are doing Teddy to Schuster, I believe, and that's Nicho Hynes. Anyone else risking the biscuit and getting bloody Nicho in first game?
Yeah, I am. Well, I haven't committed. But I mean, I'm a little bit better off than everyone else. I had 470k in the bank, and taking the Cora down to Schuster just makes me. I can actually take Tanner Boyd to Hines and keep Cleary. So yeah, I don't hate it.
It's God, I'm so on the fence with this one because I don't know if they've got Trindle on the bench as just a backup in case he goes down, or whether they're going to ease him back. Geez, it's hard. I mean, the average is over 100 against the Dragons. It could be an absolute killer not owning him. I don't know if I'll be able to watch the game.
And then does he kick? I mean, if he's had a calf problem, there are questions. There's definitely questions around.
So who kicks if he doesn't? Because if Trindle's on the bench, who else have they got to kick?
I'd have to think.
They don't have anyone, do they?
Moreland can kick. He has kicked for the Panthers for a little bit, but he hasn't done it for a long, long time.
Just breaking news too. Kafusi hasn't got the downgrade in top 4 weeks.
He got 4 weeks.
He got 4 weeks because he didn't get it downgraded.
Wow.
One time, he's in my draft team, so I need to fix that trade all of a sudden. So awesome. And number 5, most traded in this week. No arguments whatsoever here, and that's Tommy Turbo. So with you, Glenn, mate, this is a no-brainer.
You should have started him. I mean, I told anyone that listened. Having said that, look, I didn't captain Turbo for the same reason people didn't buy Turbo.
Yeah.
And there's not much more to say on that. Turbo's somebody everyone should have in the Supercoach side. He's points per dollar. He's going to make money, and he's just a gun.
Yeah. What's the average? About 100 at the moment now. I think he's got a 97 and 103 in 2 weeks. So and he's priced at a 57 average. So that's he's looking at negative 25 break even. He's going to make some decent money. Might not get as many points against as Rabbitohs, but I think as before the pod, as in Ross alluded to, that the forwards at the Rabbitohs are a bit decimated right now. So there could be some decent points through the middle there.
He's still coasting too. I mean, if anyone's been watching the game, he hasn't been fully committed. I mean, that's what that run where he ran straight over the line. The Schuster ball gave to him. That was incredible. That's the Turbo of old. When we get 80 minutes of that again, we're going to see them big scores again. Get Turbo. It should be 100% owned. That's a must-have.
Yeah.
Not the other one. In my opinion.
And he's funnily enough, he's still only 50% owned.
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand.
Well, I get there's so many good fullbacks to have in your team, but there's not. When you think the top 3, you think let's say top 4 now because one of them is still injured. We've got Pappenhausen, Teddy, Latrell, and Turbo, and then one of those guys is half the price of the others. Who are you going to go? Yeah, Ghostbusters. Yeah. All right. So we'll go to the trade outs now. I won't talk too long on these. Teddy, everyone trading Teddy out to get some to save that price drop.
I did it last week, mate. I just saw the sense in it. I mean, it was scary though. It was scary to watch. There was so many times he went over and he looked afraid, but I did it. I committed to it. It's all about the coin now.
Yeah, but the thing is, well, we're going to be doing this whole fear thing all year. Yep. Like I just mentioned the 4 guns. So when Pappenhausen's ready, we're going to have to watch at least 2 games.
That's right.
Every single week. We're going to be packing ourselves because we're going to be like, crap, he can do anything. So it's just going to be a fun year with 4. And it hasn't happened for a long time. It's normally the first. There's only just 2 guns usually. This year we're going to have 4. So it's going to be exciting. Number 2, most traded out. Dewey. I'll go. Oh, it doesn't matter which one goes. You both are Sappy Tigers fans. So Roscoe, do you reckon the fullback changes anything?
I've just done my buy hold sell article, and I've got him as a hold this week. I know I get people trading him out, and I wouldn't be trading him to Schuster unless you're using that cash upgrade elsewhere, like the gun, like up to another gun. But if you're going to Munster, yes. Going to Dylan Brown, I think yes. But I'm just going to give him another week and see how he goes, to be honest with you. I think he's going to get more attacking stats at fullback, potentially more tackle busts, more line breaks, all that sort of stuff. So, although the Tigers aren't playing well, we don't have a bad record against Melbourne either. And I think with the Hulls and that, with Bacon and Brooks, I think we can only get better, hopefully. But I'm just hopeful on that. That's not. Yeah.
Glenn, your thoughts there, mate?
Look, I thought Wakeham really straightened up the Tigers when he came on. And so given that bit of information, I'd really like to watch Dewey from fullback. I just think the Tigers look better with Wakeham. The issue for me isn't his ability. We got to trust our gut on that. The issue is how injured is he and when will he be right? Spit it out.
The other issue, sorry, Dan, too, is that you got Dane Laurie on the bench.
Yep.
And I don't understand. I'm not sure why. Like, are they going to potentially move Dewey to the centres or something if something goes wrong out there and they bring Dane Laurie to fullback? I don't know. It's just a weird bench for me.
I just think it's a bit strange that they've got a guy that's been dying to play fullback for ages, and then they put Dewey there instead of Staines. No, no way. I tell you one thing. You might disagree 100% with me here, but at the end of a game, it happened when he played for Penrith too. For the last 10 minutes, when everyone's a bit tired, he moves to fullback, and it happened a few times with Penrith. And he actually injects a bit of power there, a bit of creativity, but he can't do it for a whole game.
He's a good runner and he's got a lot of ticker. You know what I mean? Like, I've actually been to the game and watched him, and you can hear the collisions with him and May. I was quite impressed with both at how quick and hard they hit the line. The issue is where he plays. He doesn't know where to put himself as a fullback. It's his positioning play.
His attacking is good, through the middle, but that's about it. Yeah,
absolutely.
The Sheens isn't mucking around with dropping players though either. I mean, Nofo's been terrible, probably deserves to be dropped, and often Goey's been dropped as well. So, look, they need to make something happen, and I don't think so. I think Seapuff's a good player. Probably too good to be playing New South Wales Cup, but I don't know. They've got to do something.
All right, guys. Number 3, most traded out. Cotter. How long is he out for? Do we know?
2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. So I think he's a trade out. I think I think the money on the bench for a while, and there's other guys ready to go. So, and number 4, Sam Walker with the week off. Would you be trading out Sam Walker? I'll start with you, Roscoe.
Yeah, I probably would be. He's been okay, but not great. I mean, you're probably going to have a lot of people that are going to have Katoa or Schuster as their backup 5'8", potentially, and you probably don't want to be playing either of those two as your main 5'8", when you could potentially have a Munster or a Dylan Brown or something there. So I think it's a pretty smart trade, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Glenn, you agree?
I do. I think he's rocks and diamonds, mate.
Yeah, and I think their draw started off good, but we know it's going to be a bit tougher moving forward for a little bit longer. So yeah, I totally agree with that. If he was your backup, unlikely. If he was your backup half, you could almost contemplate maybe holding him as a bit of a pod. But if you've got Katoa or like I said, or Schuster, I'd play Schuster. But even then, I wouldn't be playing Katoa in the regular.
The problem with owning someone like Sam Walker is that amount of money that he costs is a lot of money to not play in your 17 early in the season. Yeah. And I just think there's too many money spots, and he'd be taking up one of those money spots.
That's it. And on the number 5 on the most traded out list, and that's Cleary. I think he's going to lose money, but this happened last time, and he had the same break even 161, and then he come out and busted 2 150s in a row last year. So I understand he only averages like 52 against the Parramatta Eels, but his last few games he's been getting pretty decent scores against them. I think he had a bit of a rough start there. So I think it was against the Eels when he got suspended, I'm pretty sure, and sent off for that dangerous tackle. So I think that's going to allude to that average a little bit as well. I'm not for this trade. I feel people are going to be trading Cleary to Hines. Glenn?
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that. I mean, I'm not even going to comment. I just think that if you're trading out Cleary, it's just dumb, in my opinion. I mean, again, it's my opinion, but I'd be
there's a world where I see people. I'm not going to do, but there's a world where I can see if you have a solid plan to get him back when you need to, and that plan you have to stick to 100%. I can see that happening. It's fine because you're going to want him back for sure. But you need to have that solid plan, and there's some good super coaches out there that will have that very formidable plan ready to go. So
the problem with plans is that other things happen, and you find yourself. I've been in that position before where I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do, and then all of a sudden I've got forced trades. Injury, bang, and that issue stays. So, look, Cleary's a super coach gun like Teddy, like Turbo. You know, I can understand Teddy. I would suggest that don't sell Teddy and Turbo, Cleary, one or the other.
Yeah, but like I think we touched on it last week though. If you're gonna sell Cleary, you gotta. There's less people, less backups that are going to be equivalent or they're going to help you out. With if you sell Teddy, you've still got Latrell. You've got heaps more people to go to and feel like you're not going to miss out as much. So I do think Cleary there's less offer. Like you go Hughes and Hughes can go okay and then go good and then go average again. So
That's right. The
I
gap
think,
between.
I think
Sorry.
it's I think it's way too risky. It's not risk versus reward because you could trade him out for 3 rounds and go, I'm going to get him back in round 9 when they get an easier draw. But in that meantime, you could have missed 3 scores over 100. And the way you've got to look at it is this bloke's a keeper till the end. So if you don't trade him out ever, he's not going to lose you any cash. And that's how you've got to look at it. So I'm seeing a lot of people trading Cleary to Adam Reynolds, and I think that's just ludicrous, to be honest with you. I think that's chasing last week's points. I really, really do. So, yeah, I'm just going to stick solid with him. And I was contemplating trading Cleary to Hines as a couple-week play and then getting Cleary back. But like Glenn said, I think injuries hit, forced trades come. All of a sudden, you don't have the cash to get him back, and you really want to have both of them.
I just wanted to say the gap between Cleary and the next half is a lot different than the gap between Tedesco and the next fullback.
Yeah,
I would not sell Cleary to Adam Reynolds, but if you own Cleary and you're thinking about going Adam Reynolds as a pod, I actually like it. And if you actually look at Adam Reynolds' scores over the last 2 years and how many games he's missed, I think you'll actually be surprised.
yeah.
He
Having
hasn't got the ceiling of the base of Cleary though. Not even close.
No, of course not. But he's got he hasn't had many scores over 100, but he's had 5 at 100, and he's had a few just thereabouts. So he's got a good draw. You know, like I don't hate that trade. I do hate it from Cleary to AA, but I don't hate Ray.
Well, one thing that you could say is a lot of people are trying to get Nico. Some people will wait till say round 7 to get Nico, which I think is a good plan as well. So you could go A-Ray and build up as a stepping stone to get to Nico, which I don't mind.
Yeah,
as long as you still have Cleary. Awesome. All righty, let's get into the games, guys. So first game off the rank, Thursday night, Battle of the West, Panthers versus the Eels. We'll start with you, Glenn. What kind of points of interest are you looking at here?
Well, I think Maddo at second row is very interesting. I predicted it on the pod a few weeks ago. I said that I think with Hopgood at lock, I just think that it almost forces the hand of them to play him at second row. And if he does keep that spot at second row, he'll be someone I'll be targeting ASAP. He doesn't seem to make it to Origin. They play round 13. There's a lot to like about it. Dury's been named on the bench, which was kind of predictable. Yeah. That's Para. What was the other side they were playing? Sorry, I got last week's paper.
Panthers, mate.
Panthers. Yeah, right. Also, I like what's his name, Taruva. I've noticed a few people that don't have him. If you don't, get on him because he will make money and he's got solid base, I think.
Yeah, I think he's like last year's May, I reckon. Yeah, he's got solid base, and if he gets a few tries, which is bound to happen on that Panthers wing, he's going to get some decent scores there. So
yeah, prime real estate.
Yeah. Anything else, Roscoe?
Not really. I wouldn't go near Maddo just because of his concussion history and he loves the suspension too. So I don't think I'd go there. But one I'll definitely be watching closely will be Dylan Brown because if Dewey doesn't fly this week, he'll be coming into my team probably earlier than what I'm predicting to. So, but other than that, for the Panthers, obviously we keep an eye on Cleary. Not really much else there, to be honest with you, with the Panthers. I'm really liking at this stage. But, you know, if a few guns drop in price, like Stephen Crichton or a couple others like that, then I'd be worth watching.
Can I just say, those people that are going to A-Ray, another alternative could be at round 6 to also go Moses. Moses and Brown both will play round 13, and in my opinion, will be heavily owned anyway at that period. And their draw really sweetens up from round 6. They've both been scoring really well, especially Brown. I think he's had back-to-back hundreds.
The only problem there is if you in round 6, that's the only thing I can think of that could be an issue. If in round 6, who are you gonna sacrifice? Because in round 7, you want to get Hines in. So you're gonna sacrifice Cleary or Hines. It's gonna be the only challenge there. So in saying that, we know on his day, Yeah, I'm saying like they're people you're gonna have him get Moses in for 2 weeks and that's it, and that's what I was referring to.
Yeah,
So
right.
I don't think I could go. I don't think I could own both at one time. I just think that they take points off each other, and I'd be sitting there screaming at the TV, going, stealing points off my own player. Like,
it's like watching the BBL when your batter gets out by your bowler, you know.
What's good about those two, I just want to elaborate on this, is so some halves you'll see are the dominant half and they'll play both sides of the field. Brown and Moses predominantly play left and right, which means that a lot of the left side play to Lane, to Sevo will come through Brown. And a lot of the right side play, which is Madison outside of Moses, which I really like. So I can see Moses putting Maddo through. So just that's what I like. I like the connections. Lane, Brown, Moses, Maddo, one or the other. I'll be going Brown, Lane.
I think I got a question really in this game is how do we think Hopgood's with that bench makeup, Hopgood minutes are going to look like? Is he worth playing this week, or would you sit him? Or
No.
Yeah, you're playing him.
Yeah.
You reckon it was last week's minutes were a bit lighter because of the heat as well?
It's the heat. Absolutely.
So. I think so.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because I got Jackson Ford back in my team, and I'm like, I could drop one of the players, and maybe I'll have to drop King maybe instead. I think might work out better.
I like Ford.
Yeah. All right. So game 2. Sorry, bear with me. I literally have not got it up at the moment. So game 2, we're looking at Storm versus the Tigers. So in Melbourne, we'll go to you, Glenn. Mate, this one here. What are you thinking? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a whitewash?
I don't, man. I've said it every pod, and I'm going to repeat it. They look shaky, the Storm. They are really shaky on the edges, and everyone's saying it's the Storm, blah blah blah. But you can't fix that. What's on their edges? Munster, though, will straighten them up, and I still think they'll win well. But we've also Wakeham straightened us up, and then we've got IPAP as well. I think this game will be a little closer than people think. I backed the Titans last week, put a bet on, because that's how confident I was, and I still feel this will be closer than people think too. Although Munster is a bit different.
Yeah, we got to think Dogs, Titans, and now you got Tigers. This is like there's 3 underdogs there. Just put the number on them. So yeah. Anything else you got, Roscoe?
Look, I think Storm will win. I don't know if it'll be comfortably, but if Hughes plays, if he gets off his judiciary and Hughes and Munster both there, I think we could be in some big trouble. But yeah, they're centre wing and they're wingers. They're not great. They're like Glenn said, their edge defense is pretty ordinary. I mean, they leaked 38 points against the Titans out of all teams, and you know, I really thought the Storm were going to come out last week and put a score on them, and it didn't happen. And I'm not liking what I see from them at the moment. There's some players there that you probably won't own. I think Nick Meaney's a sneaky pod.
Yeah.
If you want something different, I really like what I'm seeing from him. But if you look at their draw next few games after Tigers, it's not great. They've got a pretty tough draw, so mate, they could struggle the next few games, to be honest with you, after this week. So
look, one player I do like, if you don't own, is Elise Katoa. I said it at the start of the season in the trials. I really looked at the set plays, and they're all set around him. Melbourne were very ugly last week, but I think, as I said, with Hughes and Munster together, that will straighten it up. And I expect some stuff from Katoa.
But I know a lot of people own Lioro too, and he's been pretty disappointing this year.
He's a dud.
I think Liero is very meat and potatoes. I'm not a big fan of the meat and potatoes second rower. I want to have that attacking flair that gets attacking stats as well. And I think Katoa has that. All right. Game 2 on Friday night. We've got the top of the table clash here. Dolphins and the Broncos. Who would have thought hearing that, eh? Roscoe?
Yeah, well, after the news that Kafusi's been suspended for 4 weeks, and they're missing Jeremy Marshall-King, I think this is the week that the Dolphins will get exposed. I think Broncos will carve them up through the middle with Carrigan and Haas, and out the edges with Herbie and Staggs out there. I think I could see Broncos putting 40 points on them easy this week, unfortunately. I just think, you know, Dolphins looked a lot better when Cody Nikorima came on the field, gave them some sort of direction. But yeah, geez, yeah, it's not great this week. I mean, I own the Hammer. I'll play the Hammer because I like what I see from him, and he's involved a lot. And obviously Gilbert's another one I'll be keeping an eye on too because he's been, flying under the radar. I wish I hadn't started him because I did have him originally, but his trials didn't look great, so kind of put me off a bit. But for the Broncos, yeah, Jesus, I mean Herbie and Staggs could have a field day this week too. So yeah,
I think defensively, like with like on the edges there for Dolphins, they've got like people like Ewan Aiken, who I know I'm talking about the far edges. He's quite a very good defender. So that might be which actually I was talking to Brod about this on the weekend about whenever Staggs is up against that good defender, he takes it as a personal challenge and he goes at next level. You saw how good he was. Like last week, he went up against Lomax, who's known as that other good, pretty decent center there. And he was like, I think he takes it as a personal challenge to just outdo that person. So I think it could be a really good chance for the Stags there. So
he's one that's so frustrating to own. Like he's like you said, you want to play him against the tougher opponents, not play him against like the easy opponents because that's when he seems to not score so well. So yeah, I couldn't go there, but hurt me too many times.
I was up against Broad last week in my head-to-head, and he had Stags, and that pretty much as soon as Stags went through, I was like, "Yep, that's over for me. My head-to-head's over." So, all right. So
I would like to say something on this game if I can.
No, you don't get to. No.
So the first thing I was going to say was you said that the Finns will be exposed this game. I actually thought they were exposed last game. I just don't think that Newcastle were able to capitalise on that. A better side will. But there's a couple of players of interest that I really like. So in the Finns, you mentioned Ewan Aiken. I actually think he'd be an interesting pod. Bennett's picked a very good defensive team. That's what he's tried to build, a defensive side, but they just don't have the points. And I agree with you, Ross, that I think that the Broncos win this well. But just on the Broncos, I really like Stags. I really like that right side, and I really like that left side with Herbie Farnworth. So if anyone's out there looking for a pod, if you haven't got Carrigan, I think he's of interest. But I think Stags points per dollar isn't bad value based on draw, and I think Walsh helps open up both them edges.
Yeah, Walsh has been good moving from side to side there. He's been really good to help those guys a bit more because we all complained last year when there was no ball getting to Stags. But I think with the way that Walsh has been swooping around and actually opening that team up a little bit, it's the piece of the puzzle they needed.
What Walsh also does is, in the past, well, in my opinion, last year, you just shut down A-Ray, you shut down the Broncos. But what they've done is now they've got a different point of attack. By bringing Walsh in, it means that's another person. So that means less eyes have to be on A-Ray to cover Walsh. You know what I mean? So I think Walsh is a great addition to that club. As I said earlier, I still think people rate him higher than I do. But, yeah.
The other one I just want to throw in there that I mentioned last night on our pod is Lemi Lumu. 354k mid range. He's got a 76 and a 64 now. He got an 8 round 2, but he came off the bench.
Yeah.
Their games Broncos, Dragons, Cowboys next 3. If you wanted a mid range centre wing, I don't think he's the worst option.
Well, I haven't really been watching. Has he? Because I know he was a centre. Has he been playing the back row? Or has he been playing in centre?
Go, Ross.
No, I thought he played in the centres, but maybe I'm wrong.
I remember there was one game he got named in the back row, and I was like, wait a minute, it's a bit strange. So he's definitely beefed up since last year when he was playing in the centres.
You keep going. I'm just going to check.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, we'll move on to the next game. I'll start with you, Glenn. Cowboys versus another Queensland derby. Cowboys versus the Titans. Not so impressive, the Cowboys this year. I think they'll get their form moving forward. I reckon they're not the team they were last year.
Yeah, I still like the Cows, but the Titans pass the ball around. That's why they trouble Melbourne. Melbourne play a very structured game of rugby league. Titans are kind of all over the place, and that sort of confuses those structured sides. So I actually think Titans can win this game. Yeah,
well, because I think you're right. I think with the forwards that the Cowboys have, they are also very, very structured the way they play as well. Very solid forward pack, and they're not really as fancy with their movement around with the plays as well. When they're close to the line, they're pretty good with Dearden moving around the back there with Drinkwater as well. But I think
Drinkwater out is similar to Walsh in the sense that now Drinkwater's out, they can shut down Dearden. You know what I mean? It's an easier who they need to focus on. So I think we Drinkwater out, that's going to be a bit of a worry for them, and Cotter as well.
That's it. Roscoe.
So just back on Lima Lima, he actually was named at number 10 last week.
Okay.
And played 72 minutes, so I'm not too sure what happened there. But yeah, so yeah, on the Cowboys, oh gosh, there's not much there to like at the moment, is there? Reece Robson, maybe, if you want, probably look at getting him in as my second hooker at some stage, but there really isn't much there to like at the moment. They just look flat. They didn't look right. I didn't see the game against the Warriors, but yeah, not much to like to see from at the moment.
I have to disagree. There's one person there that I actually did like. It's just whether his job security is, and that's Tom Chester. If he gets a set amount of time in the game, he's definitely someone that I'd be picking up. He looks incredible, I thought.
Yeah, he looks like he just wanted the ball. Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right. Game 2 on the Saturday is Rabbitohs versus Manly. I'll go to you, Roscoe, for this one to start with, mate. What are you thinking here? Anyone here of interest?
Yeah, there's a few for South that I'll be keeping an eye on for the next few weeks. Colin Matangi's one. He's been really good. AJ, when he drops in price, will be one to look at as well. Can Cody Walker find some for me if he drops a decent amount of cash? Because he's been pretty disappointing as well. But yeah,
I think he needs to go to anger management classes before he can move on there. So.
And then obviously Latrell, I looked at their draw earlier after Origin, particularly after Origin. They've got a sweet run home. I'll be probably all over him for the run home from about round 14, 15 onwards for them.
Yeah. Glenn?
I thought Campbell Graham played the best game of football I've seen him play last week. That he was incredible. He was in and out. He was all over the place. The issue is, though, he'll possibly play Origin. But, I mean, if he plays round 13, I think he'll be a must. I second what Ross said on all the others. Kalamatangi really stood out. They'll be people we may target at some point later. The Roosters have been disappointing, but there's two in there I would like to point out. I think Lindsay Collins could be someone of interest if you have a cheap front rower like a Cotter and you need money. The problem is this week it's a buy. But going forward, I've seen enough from Lindsay Collins that I think he'll make money and be consistent. The other one that I have is a pod who's been playing quite well and just slightly going by is Nat Butcher. Everyone jumped on Egan. I paid the extra 100K and I've got my money's worth. He's and what I like about him is that Bradley goes down a lot, which means that he moves into the lock position and defends at lock. And anyone that's playing in attack at second row and defending at lock is gold for Supercoach.
Yeah, I've been watching. I haven't gotten that, but I've been watching that, and he's been looking like amazing on the field. Like he's been like when the Roosters haven't been looking too great, he comes out and actually he's starting to like straighten them up. He looks really good. He's running nice little inward lines and making some decent meters. So I really like that shout.
Sorry, boys, I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, keep going.
All good. Anyone from the Manly team that obviously Schuster there and Turbo? Is there anyone else there of interest that you'd be looking at?
Let me just have a quick second. Well, obviously, if you don't own Turbo, get Turbo.
Yeah.
Schuster, as we've said, I think you can wait a week. DCE is an avoid, in my opinion. So I've seen a few people with DC or going after DC. Like I said, the play went left. But the one that I do like, not now, but at some point in the future as money comes down, is Ola Kawatu. I think he could be someone that could get into our side at some point.
Yeah, I think I always compare Ola Kawatu to Koala Matangi. I reckon they're very similar builds, big bodies on that edge, and they're very similar style, and they get those arms out and they can do offloads and get line break assists. I know, was it Ola Kawatu got 2 tries last week and he didn't get the biggest score. That's because there was no line breaks, so they were like intercepts or there was one that was a
game, to be fair. But the other one that we're not talking about, I guess we probably should, is Garrick. So there's a lot of people going after Garrick. And look, I ain't going to talk anyone out of that. He kicks goals. He's got solid base. Even if he doesn't score a try, you're not going to get a bad score. I don't hate it. I just think that prioritize your money first, guys. We have an opportunity this year, unlike any other year, where in rounds 3, 4, and 5, we can build cash. Trust me, utilize that. Take a little bit of a hit. Going forward, you'll get 2, 3, 4 more guns than those that don't.
Yeah. And I think we said it a couple last year was you need to kind of earn the right to get those guns, try and build that cash. And I'm sitting at 10,000 right now. I know, I guarantee you, the guy that's going to win this year, or the guy or the girl that's going to win this year, was probably going to be behind me.
Yeah,
You know
he's
what I mean? Like they're probably sitting around
16K.
20,000 right now. Yeah.
He's
So
sitting at 16K. I know
yeah,
him.
yeah. All right. So maybe on to the first Sunday game. Warriors in New Zealand, Mount Smart Stadium against the Bulldogs. Roscoe, mate. What are you thinking here? You think the Warriors can do it?
I think they can.
Mm.
Um, I don't think the Dogs have been great, to be honest with you. I mean, they've been playing okay football, but not great. Warriors have bought well this year. At home, I think they can definitely knock them off. Ford's back this week, but they lose Barnett as well, obviously.
Mm.
But they get CNK back as well from his HIA. But they're building on nicely, the Warriors. I think they could be a bit of a surprise packet this year.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, like, because I think you're right with Bulldogs have shown glimpses of being pretty good, but then they've just shown just horrible as well. They're showing the good and the bad. I think the Warriors, they might not have shown the best, but they have been very consistent, and they're actually showing a bit more structure. I think they're actually playing a lot better and more simple football, and actually playing more consistently. Glenn?
I think there's quite a few players that are super
Mm.
coach relevant for the Dogs. I mean, obviously we own a few of them in Carraz and Preston and Alamotti. So I mean, if you don't own those, but I actually really like what I saw from Hayes Perham. And the other one, I try to tell people don't go near Reed Mahoney, but the other one I like is Raymond Faladamarina. On the Warriors, I said I believe they've been the best. They've bought best, better than any other club this year. And I won't go through who they are, but Ford. You can wait a week on Ford because of what happened, and got that low point in his rolling average. But he had the highest offloads and the highest tackle bust in junior rugby league, and the coaches come out and clearly stated that he wants him playing 80 minutes on a left edge. So at 280k points per dollar makes a lot of sense.
I just went out of my stuff up with trades on the weekend too that actually worked in my favour. I saved myself a boost and also was going cheese to money. And I'm actually glad I didn't do it, to be honest with you. I know that Cheese has got the bye this week, but I might just get a couple more weeks, look at him and see if he gets any better. If not, I'll offload him to a Reece Robson or something.
Yeah, I've got my last reserve, and at the moment I'm tossing up between Ford and which I want to play, but also not sure what Josh King's going to put up from the storm either. So I'm thinking about leaning towards Ford just because they're playing at home and more minutes, so there's more opportunity for points.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about leaning towards that. So alrighty, on to the next game. Newcastle Knights playing at home against the Raiders. Yeah, so Raiders got their first win on the weekend. So but they're going away now. So Roscoe.
Tough game to pick. Newcastle haven't been playing too bad considering the amount of injuries that they've got. I mean, obviously they get Jaden Bailey back this week, but they're still missing Ponga. But look, they haven't been playing too bad, to be honest with you. I mean, look what happened against the Tigers, but that was the Tigers. But, they're digging in and they're having a go. And rightly so, Dom Young's finally been dropped, which probably was on the cards because it's been awful. So I'm glad that the Roosters are happy about spending that money on him, that they've paid him. But I'll be definitely watching Marzu to see how he goes. We all know he's a tackle busting machine. Another one that could be one to keep an eye on, sneaky pod, is Leo Thompson as well. He goes from lock to prop this week, but they're a bit decimated with injuries at the moment with their forwards and stuff too. But they get Frizzell back this week, but I think he could be one to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, he has a friendly game. I watched him last year because I had him in my team because one of the cheapies that I had, nice little slow burn, and he didn't do very good for me. That was because he wasn't getting the minutes, but he looked really good when he did have the ball. I think he was probably getting like 15 minutes with the ball, but then he'd always score about 21 points. So it's a pretty solid PPM. I think he's got a good footwork at the line there. So definitely one to keep an eye on.
He's a bit like Muali for South too. I mean, like they've got Totola out this week and they're starting for feeder over Muali. So obviously I'm not too sure what's going on there. I was expecting Muali to probably get more minutes this week, but we'll see what happens.
Glenn, mate, Knights and Raiders.
I really like Lockie Miller. I started him as a pod, and he's been very handy for me. I mean, 250s in just raw base, and then last week a 90 something with a couple of tries. But I wouldn't suggest going out buying him if you don't, like That's a personal one. But the two that stood out for me, I thought Bradman Best actually played really well, and he could be someone of interest, but he does find an injury. And Tyson Gamble, I mean, geez, I really like this kid. I think he's one of them people that competes on every play. From the Raiders, I mean, Tarpany will be someone that everyone will get by 13. I wouldn't suggest doing it right now. But the other two I like was Corey Hiranira. I actually like him at lock, and his minutes are starting to improve, and obviously Hudson Young. But you take Hudson Young with the risk of knowing that he's a meathead and at any time he could get sent off. So
you can say the same about how you said you like the kid in Gamble. No one likes the play. One of the most punchable faces in the game.
Yeah. More punchable than Cody Walker.
I think as well, one of the things that we all look at the game, we think, oh god, these are fiery. You got to think these guys have the prime example is Rory Hargraves. He's probably one of the nicest guys off the field, but he just changes. It turns the switch on. He's a competitor. I know. Yeah, I know. I hear these things all the time. These guys are like, they have a switch in their head and they just get their mongrel in them to go on the game, and that works for them as a player. I think Gamble and Hastings, maybe not Hastings. I hear he's a bit of a flog of the side from what I hear. So, yeah.
So the question then, is it too early to be looking towards round 13? Because the reason why I say that is, would it be stupid to go to Cotter to Tarpany over Haas, do we think? Do you think it's too early to make that
I'd go Tohu if I was going to do that. I think Tohu, I mean, Tarpany's someone you'll probably want, but Tohu's playing the minutes. Although he has to Angus, but I would go Tohu. I just think he's been more consistent early. And he plays the bye round too, Ross.
Yeah.
All right. Last game of the week in Australia Jubilee Stadium, we got the Dragons taking on the Sharks. So, Glenn, we'll start with you this time, mate.
Well, Sloan would be the one from the Dragons that would come to mind. I really like, he's passed the eye test. I mean, but he plays for the Dragons. That's the problem. And the other one I like was Jack Bird. I think he's one to keep an eye on. And who was the other side you just said, mate?
Dragons. Sharks, mate.
Sharks. Sorry, mate. I'm not in the game at the moment. Well, the Sharks, I wouldn't be touching any one of them now, but they are players that post round 13, the whole back line could be of interest. You know, Ramian, Talakai, Katoa, and Mulatalo all at different times are of interest, and obviously Hines. Hines would be the only one, and that's a personal choice. It's a big risk with Trindle on the bench, but I think I'm going to take the punt because I just love Hinesy. And I hope it's a wet game so we get to see him playing with the wet hair.
Oh yeah, just those points, just those triple points coming through. So
points. Yeah,
that's it. Roscoe.
Yeah, look, I mean, Dragons. There's not really anyone there of interest to me. Ben Hunt might be at some stage if he gets cheap enough. Sloan, I'm not too sure on. I was going to start him at the start of the year, but when they had the bye, I opted to not go him instead. But I noticed there was quite a few people jumping on him. I think he's probably the better of the cheapies to buy this week if you are looking to buy a cheapie. Other than that, for the Sharks, like Glenn said, Hines. I said on our pod last night, I think the whole Sharks backline could be ones to keep an eye on. They've all got pretty high BEs, so I wouldn't be touching them in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. But I think Katoa and all that definitely. I mean, Mulatalo as well. They'll definitely all be options at some stage.
Even Niokora and Wilton could become of interest. I mean, people have got Wilton now, and I don't hate it. But Niokora always has good moments through the season if you can just pick the right time and draw, and points per dollar.
He's had a pretty decent start in Niokora as well. He's had a pretty good start. He's got a try already, so it's always good. All right, so that's all the games wrapped up, guys. So let's move on. One of the things I want to talk about now is currently the overall winner of the Tragics overall group. Frank's Tanks taking over the lead, ranked 68th overall. So well done there, mate. He got 1,210 this week. It's a massive score. So well done, mate.
Nice one.
Yeah,
that name actually sounds familiar. I think he's a bit of a gun when it comes to BBL. I'm pretty sure too. He does it right now as well. And BBL Super Coach. Pretty sure he's in there somewhere as well.
I've definitely. Well, we're doing all the cash comps and stuff. I'm pretty sure I've seen his name around a fair bit. So good luck, mate. Keep going. All right, so let's start talking trades, guys, if you want to share. So we'll start with you, Roscoe, mate. What trades are we looking at?
Yep, so we've got Teddy out, Grimson out, Collins out, and we've got Haas in, Schuster in, and Karaz in, and banking about 550k to hopefully go from Katoa to Hines next week.
Like it. Glenn?
So my two definite trades are I'm bringing in Walsh and Schuster for Neokora and not Neokora, sorry, Viliami and who was I trading out?
Boyd?
No, it wasn't Boyd. It was I can't even remember who I'm trading out, guys. But the other one I'm bringing in Hines for Tanner Boyd. So I'm bringing in Hines, Walsh, and Schuster. Yeah, and I can't even remember who I'm trading out. So not a good day for me, mate. It's been a busy one. My mind is still there.
All right, so I'm looking at potentially going Dewey out for Munster. I got a bit of cash banked up, and then going Jackson Hastings to Nicho Hynes. I'm a bit scared of that trade now. I'm actually a bit nervous about it, so I'm thinking about maybe waiting a week and actually playing it safe because I don't need to play Hastings. I've got other players I can play, so I can just let him bench there, and he might lose a little bit of cash, but I'm not too fussed. Not enough to really worry about. But I think the one that I really want to get in is Munster. I think he's going to be pretty fired up after watching his team the last couple of weeks get beaten. He's going to come out fired up, and he's playing against the Tigers. So I'm thinking he's going to come out there and he's going to show some gusto. And on my last trade, if my VC, which we'll talk about soon, goes goes bonkers, I won't do this trade. But if he doesn't go bonkers, I'll go Teddy to Walsh. To build some more cash up.
So. I just remember, by the way, so it was Miller I was thinking of selling if I got Hines. I was selling Tanner Boyd and Williami. I've got 480k in the bank, but if I get Hines, then I have to give up Miller to do it, which I don't like doing, but it's Hines.
Yeah, and that there is what you call like some moves seem a bit crazy. Like you got a guy that's making money, he's doing all right, but then you look at Hines' upside. So they're the kind of moves that people will go, that's a stupid move, but it's actually a move that's going to get me bloody points and actually help me bloody gain ground.
And you look at the quality. I'm bringing in 3 guns.
Yeah, exactly.
Walsh and Hines, well, arguably guns, you know what I'm saying, for 2 spuds and a gun. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's very, very smart. It's like overall your team afterward is a massive upgrade.
And if you look at Newcastle's draw after this game, Glenn, you probably won't regret it. I think when you see their draw, you probably made the right choice.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Love it. I feel good.
Yeah. No, I was just saying because a lot of people. A lot of people will see like trading out someone that's potentially going to make more money and all that kind of stuff with Miller, but I think you got to look at the overall picture of that whole trade, and that actually makes a lot of sense.
I don't think Miller's making much money. He's at 600k already. He's scoring around his worth. I mean, he's had 250s and now a 90. I mean, he could get to 650, I guess. But
okay. I mean, so not missing out on much, really.
That's right. Yeah, based on the others that are going to make the coin.
Yeah. All right. So I'll start with my VC and my captain. So at the moment, I'm looking at putting the VC on Munster players early in the week. And then I'll look at potentially putting the captain on probably someone like a bit safer, probably like a Turbo or something like that. Might not be as safe there. But if I do bring in Hines, that's the risky one. Use Hines, which is always he could go nuts, but you could also get benched after 20 minutes because they're up. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And I'm hoping I won't need to worry about my VC. My captain, sorry. I'm hoping my VC is feeling pretty good. We'll go to you next, Glenn. VC and captain.
Well, I haven't fully committed, but Cleary is one option as VC or Grant as an option. But the other one I've been thinking about, if I don't go Hines, I will go Munster. And if I get Munster, I'll straight see him. But the other person I was thinking about was Hines, Turbo VC, Hines C. I mean, bring him in, have a go. Maybe that could be what I do. You know, I want to enjoy my Supercoach this year. In the past, I've played a bit safe. I've got angry at stuff. I just want to have fun. And if it goes off, it goes off. And if it doesn't, well, you know, delete the app.
That's it. That's it, mate. Well, that's the thing, mate. The winner's not going to be the one that's captain Haas or Grant all year. He's going to be the one taking some risks. So, Roscoe, mate, VC and captain.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get it out of the way early and go VC on Cleary and C on Grant.
Yeah. Okay. I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we wrap up, guys?
No, just sorry, just good luck to those 8 that left in the Matty Wilson fundraiser. And again, thank you for everyone who entered that. And Dan, thanks for organising it all and everything. So it's been a great cause, and yeah, it's been fantastic. So thanks to everyone who entered in, and good luck to those left.
Yeah, only a couple of weeks left now. Exciting.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for that. Join in next week, and we'll talk again. Let's go.
So you want to be a champion?
Oh no, now the knee. Oh, well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu set up a try from Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.